How's it going? I'm going to make the flourless chocolate brownies that we talked about last night, and this is also for anybody really that wants to learn how to make a simple, easy, gluten-free snack. They're fantastic. They're dense and chocolatey. They're great. So I'm going to go over the ingredients real quick with you, Mom. I'm doing a double batch, so you can cut all this in half. I'm using 2 sticks of butter, a cup of sugar, a cup of cocoa powder, and then I'm using 6 eggs and 7 ounces of chocolate. Don't use Hershey's. Use something that's just chocolate, like the Organics. The Simply Organics, great. Guittard makes a really good one. But you just want to check and make sure it's non-GMO, it's organic. It's healthier that way, and there's no additives or preservatives that really could mess with the way your brownies come out. So first thing I did is preheat my oven to 350. So we're going to put them in there for 23 minutes. And second thing I do is put the butter in and melt it. So I'm using 2 sticks of butter because I doubled everything. So you want to cut it in half. 1 stick of butter, 3.5 ounces of chocolate, half cup of cocoa powder, and a half cup of sugar. So once the butter is well melted in there, I'm going to take this chocolate right here, all the cacao nibs, and I'm going to go ahead and throw them right in there. So that way I can melt the chocolate and the butter at the same time. And then we want to get it to where the butter's obviously not browned. We're going to get it in there like that and make sure that the chocolate is melted, I'd say about 90%. Once we get it to 90%, it's really good because the butter, now I'll turn off the heat. So the butter is melting the chocolate, and then that's when I'm going to put in the sugar. The sugar is going to melt as well, but when I put the sugar in, it helps cool the chocolate and the butter a little bit, which is really important because we're going to put the eggs in separately, but you also, if anyone's cooked before, they know that you don't want to put in eggs to a hot batter because you'll scramble the eggs, and we don't need that in our lives. So we'll get it all mixed around in here, get this sugar melted as much as possible. So we've got all of that in there like that. So what I like to do is there's different ways you can do this. You can do this all in one pan if you really want to, if you're that good. I prefer to do it separately, and I already cracked my eggs and I double checked them for eggshells, because you don't want eggshells in this. It's pretty nasty. So I make sure all of this is good in here, and then I'll transfer it to a cool bowl. I know some people don't, but I just like to because it helps cool it a little bit faster. So I'll take this and I'll pour it right in here just to make sure it's nice and cool, because I don't want there to be any opportunity to scramble these eggs, because if you scramble them, you're going to waste all of that chocolate and butter and sugar. So I just put it in here like that, get as much of it as you can out. Like I said, I know sometimes this is going to seem a little counterproductive, but I do it this way. So get it nice and cool in there, and you can feel the bottom, and it's still really hot. So I just stir it around to help cool it a little bit more. That way we've got it nice and cool. Now you want to get the oven's ready. You want to get the batter cool and also mixed very well. I don't want it to be grainy, so I want to make sure the sugar does have time to melt. Some people, you can use a whisk if you want to incorporate the eggs. I can use the spatula because I'm going to need it to fold the cocoa powder into the mixture, but I'm going to use the whisk anyway because I want to make sure that this gets incorporated correctly. So I'm going to move this over here so you can see a little bit of what I'm doing. There we go. So then what we'll do is we'll put an egg in. It should be pretty cool right now. So I usually put 1 egg in and mix it up. That way I can tell if it's scrambled or not. It didn't scramble. So I'll put another one in and mix it up. Get it fully incorporated. Put the other one in. I usually do them one at a time. One, because I want to make sure there are no eggshells. And two, I don't want to scramble. So you'll also feel the batter starting to thicken, obviously. If you've ever baked before, you know that when you incorporate eggs into the back mixture, it does get a lot thicker. There we go, final egg. We're good to go on that. Let's get it mixed around nice and neat. You can tell it's a good thick mixture. No eggs are scrambled in the process, and we're all happy. So I'll take that and just set it over here. It's about, well, put it right here. It's where it needs to be. So you can see your batter right there. Now, go back to your spatula. You can tell it's nice and thick. As some people will tell you, put in a little bit at a time and fold it around. It does make it easier. So when you're folding the cocoa powder in here, it's not going to take forever because you'll have a ton of chunks, and you don't want a ton of chunks in there. So I usually like to fold it a little bit slower just to make sure I get everything incorporated before I put some more in. It can take a little more time, but I think it's worth it because I don't want any of those powdery lumps of cocoa powder. So I usually put in, 5 teaspoons at a time, or tablespoons at a time. It just makes it a little easier because you can put it all in at once. It just takes longer to fold it all, and it's just annoying because you're constantly fighting and looking for bubbles and looking for pieces of dry cocoa powder. So I just put it in a little at a time. I think it's just easier. So there, once in a while when I am in a hurry, I will fold it all in at the same time. But it seems to be a little harder because I'm constantly, there we go, because I'm constantly spending more time looking through it and trying to see, oh here, here, and then I'm just picking it out, and it just takes forever. So once I get it about, I'd say 90% mixed, so I can tell there's really no cocoa powder left unmixed, and I go ahead and add some more. And you can see I added quite a bit, so it does take a little bit longer, and it will thicken also. So if you are a lefty or a righty, you're going to have to change hands. You're just going to have to deal with it. And I am not a good folder with my right hand because I'm a lefty, and you know that, Mom. So I want to make sure it's all mixed in there correctly. There we go. It's nice and mixed. Make sure there's no bubbles, and you want to look at it and say that's about the consistency of lava, so how you want it to look. Make it nice and smooth. And don't overfold it because that can also make your brownies a little thinner. So you want to make sure it's about like that. Alright? Now with these, I'm going to make them 16-ounce pans. So I'm going to make sure they're measured correctly because I'm a stickler for that. And I'm going to get my pan, put it on my scale, turn on my scale. And I'm going to go ahead, and you can do it one of two ways. Make sure that there's nothing on the rim that is regular cocoa powder. It kind of defeats the whole purpose. So then we'll pour in enough to make 16 ounces. Get in here like that. 15. Come on. 15. I usually stop at about 15 and a half. That's about the best way to do it. And get you right at a pound. Look at that. So we're good in this one. And then just push it into the corners a little bit. Like that. Let's see, I've got some. There we go. So this one's done. And ready to put in the oven. And we've got this one. Should be the exact same weight, so I don't have to recalibrate. And go ahead and put it in here. And the nice thing about this batter is it should make exactly 16 more ounces. Get that in there. And if you have a little more than 16 ounces, it's not going to kill you. This is just something I measure to be exact because I want to make sure that the measurements are correct. I've got that in there. Let's go ahead and move this around a little bit. It's just right. Then pop that up there. There we go. And we're ready to go. So then I'll take these and I will take my gloves off so I don't get batter on the outside of the pan. And we're going to put them in the center of the oven at 350 for 23 minutes. Just like that. And then we'll start that timer for 23 minutes and we're good to go. I'm going to post a second video on how to make the ganache to top it with right after this, so stay tuned.